Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we are tackling a cinematic mystery that has quite literally obsessed audiences for well over a decade. We're looking at the ultimate pop culture question. Was Dom Cobb still dreaming at the end of Christopher Nolan's masterpiece Inception? By piecing together some hidden Easter eggs, cast interviews, and even the director's own words, we're going to finally shed new light on this giant puzzle. Get ready, because by the time we wrap this up, you are going to have a completely new perspective on how to watch that ending.
All right, let's just dive right in and address the massive elephant in the room, that infamous final frame. You know the exact one I'm talking about. Cobb spins his top on the dining room table just to check if he's awake. He hears his kids, walks away, and then the camera just slowly pushes in on that spinning top right before the screen cuts to pitch black. We never actually see it topple over. And for years, this single visual has driven viewers absolutely crazy. Like, did it fall? Was there a slight wobble at the end? Are we just trapped in a dream?
I mean, this single, brilliantly ambiguous moment has sparked years of intense debate. It spawned, countless fan theories, deep dive YouTube breakdowns, and literally entire books dedicated to the philosophical analysis of the film. People have analyzed how the film's runtime perfectly matches the length of Edith Piaf's song, Non je ne regrette rien, and some even argue the whole movie is just this giant metaphor for filmmaking itself. But here's the secret. We've actually been asking the wrong question all along. Staring at that top, it's a complete trap.
Now, there's a massive paradigm shift we really need to talk about here. The spinning top wasn't even Cobb's totem. It was actually his deceased wife, Mouse. And if you remember the rules established in the film, using someone else's totem is a huge, fundamental mistake. His actual personal totem, it was his wedding ring. Cobb actually tells Ariadne that in his dreams, he and Mal are still together. So because of this deep subconscious attachment, he only ever wears his wedding ring when he's in a dream sequence.
Which brings us to part 1, the hidden visual clues.
Now, Christopher Nolan is an absolute master at planting subtle clues right in plain sight. Let's look at this ring theory in practice. If you go back and watch the film really carefully, you'll see Cobb only wears that wedding ring in the dream sequences. In his subconscious, he just hasn't let go of Mal. But when he's awake in the real world, like when he's assembling the team in Paris or running around Mombasa, his left hand is completely bare. So what about that final scene in the house? Well, when he hands his passport to the immigration officer and when he physically spins the top on the table, his hand is clearly visible and he is absolutely not wearing the wedding ring. It's such a tiny detail, but it changes everything. That right there is our first massive piece of evidence that he is, in fact, awake.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates exactly why the whole trapped in a dream theory completely falls apart. You see, a major argument for the dream theory is that Cobb's kids look exactly the same at the end of the film as they do in his memories. But if we actually look closely at the details, that's just factually incorrect. The film's costume designer, Jeffrey Kurland, explicitly confirmed that the children's clothing in the final scene is actually different. Plus, if you check the IMDb credits, they confirm Nolan hired 2 completely different sets of child actors of slightly different ages to play the kids. In the dream memories, their faces are always totally hidden from view. But in that final scene, Cobb finally sees their faces. They'd aged, they're wearing different clothes, and they are fully visible. Guys, it's reality.
Moving on to part 2, the Michael Caine rule.
Now, if visual clues like a missing ring and different child actors can somehow still be debated by the most stubborn skeptics out there, let's drop the hammer and look at explicit confirmations from the actual cast and crew. The absolutely crucial point here is this definitive rule that director Christopher Nolan gave directly to legendary actor Michael Caine. When Caine first read this really complex, multi-layered script, he was understandably a bit confused. So he asked Nolan, when is it the dream and when is it reality? And Nolan's response, which Caine later shared at a film screening, was incredibly simple. He said, when you're in the scene, it's reality. So let's just apply that rule to our ending, because Caine's character, Miles, who is Cobb's father-in-law and mentor, is physically present right there at the airport waiting for Cobb, and then literally walks inside the house with him at the end. It is undeniably reality. The architect of the movie himself essentially gave us the cheat code to the maze. If Michael Caine is on screen, we are awake.
And finally, part 3, the true emotional meaning.
Because solving the mechanical puzzle of that spinning top is really only half the journey of this explainer. Let's elevate this a bit. Because if you focus solely on the physics of the dream world, you're entirely missing the profound point Nolan was actually trying to make. Cobb's emotional arc throughout this incredible story was never really about mastering dream physics or, pulling off the perfect corporate heist. It was about a man burdened by crippling guilt. He truly believed he was responsible for his wife's death. His whole journey was about letting go of that guilt and his toxic obsession with distinguishing reality from illusion. In Limbo, he finally confronts the projection of Mal. He realizes she's just a shade, and he lets her go. He chooses his kids over his past.
And this is exactly what Christopher Nolan himself explained during a graduation speech he gave at Princeton University. He told the students there that the physical mechanics of the ending just don't matter because Cobb stops looking at the top. Cobb walks away. He didn't really care anymore because he found his happiness. He realized that the reality that matters most is the emotional one. He's finally present with his children, letting go of the guilt that had literally trapped him in his own personal limbo for years.
As Cobb walks away to embrace his children, completely ignoring what that top does behind him, it leaves us with one final, pretty profound thought to ponder about our own lives. Are you endlessly spinning your own top, desperately obsessing over the illusions, the past, and the endless what-ifs? Or are you willing to walk away, let go of the guilt, and embrace the beautiful, messy reality standing right in front of you? Definitely something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it gave you a whole new appreciation for an absolute masterpiece of a film. Catch you next time.